going to ask a buddy here to hop on and tell me if they can hear me. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to see if anybody joins here. If this is a success and you're watching it later, you may want to jump ahead slightly. I don't think. Oh, that's interesting. All right. Should be sharing an eBay page right now. Let me see if I can. Oh, there's somebody. Am I coming through? Can you hear me? Awesome. So first off, happy Mother's Day. And I will see if I can't do a little bit of a Mother's Day. This is how I eBay. Cool. Okay. So it is working. People can hear me. All right. Let's go ahead and go. We're just going to do a, let's make sure I can read your chat here. A little smaller. Well, I don't know if there's secrets so much as just showing what a high-powered mutant I am. So I'm just going to search for vintage pins here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, no, we don't want these to be handmade. Okay. And well, actually, you know what? Handmade doesn't matter. What I want is used. So let's see. Condition used. And then we can just go ahead and say, we'll go ahead and go in newly listed, vintage pins, and we'll say lot, so that we should get a. And then I'm just going to go through and sort of show you what and I actually do scroll through about this fast. So, and then I just hit something up onto another tab to check back in on a second later. And I know this is probably going to be a little bit dizzying on the live stream, but that's effectively what I do. I look for things like little chains there. The pins with a guard are worth a second look. And when people wonder what kind of searches I use, it's really not a lot more complicated than this. Here, we'll go to 240 a page so we can actually get lots of them. The main way that I actually find stuff is by just pretty much obsessively scrolling. That's kind of cool. That looks like it's silver right there. I'm not going to pay $17.99 for it. But I suppose if you wanted it, you could. And I kind of pause when I see something like this and just scan it to see if there's anything that I think might. And then I pop it up to the top there and I come back to it. Ones like this are usually not that great because they're mostly just like, what do you call it? They're mostly like at best plate. Things like this, we'll look at that real quick. These are usually not that great because somebody has very carefully laid them all out. And if somebody's very carefully laid them all out, it means they've looked very closely at them. And usually you can very quickly just go, okay, I'm not seeing anything that's gold here. These gold panning things you might think are gold, but they're pretty much never gold. At least I haven't found one that's gold. They're usually just gold plate. So if things are like too carefully arranged, usually that's a very bad sign for finding the good stuff. But when people ask me how I do that, this is pretty much how I do it. Looking at this picture, that little shoe right there, that's probably silver. I don't think this is silver, but that looks like it's probably like silver and enamel. But I think that's the only thing in here that is actually a precious metal. So then you look at it and you go, well, $3.99. Now somebody's already bid on it, so you'd have to fight somebody for that. And then of course you check shipping, $5. So somebody's already paying $9 for that little shoe potentially. If there was something else you wanted in there, maybe it's worth it. For me, that's just one that I would pass on. Here, I can already tell you there's nothing in this I want. The reason I clicked into it was because you have this little chain here, but you can see that this one is just gold plate. Actually, we'll zoom in here and I can show you what I'm talking about. Um, Obviously, terrible pictures. These are sometimes gold, these little eagle things. That one doesn't look like it. That one's probably at best gold fill or gold plate. All the rest of these don't look that great. Here we have like graduate. Um, the chain is clearly not gold. It looks like it was plated and the plating's gone. The 67 tells you that it's a little bit later. Generally, with these pins, if you want them to be gold or something precious, they will be an earlier date, like 30s or something. So, and then you can see here, this one is definitely not going to be gold because of just the quality of the pin is not great. You see how it's kind of got those coils there? That is a lower quality pin. Here we can just check real quick. See, that Eagles one. Sometimes these Eagles are gold, not enough that it's worth paying, what, 15 bucks? Well, 15 bucks total to find out. I doubt that one would be gold. Highly doubt it. This Baptist is probably gold fill, but let's flip through the pictures and see if we've got the backs. That might tell us a little bit more. But usually these pictures are pretty wretched. Sometimes they're good enough to tell us what we need to see. In this case, this one doesn't even look to be gold fill. So at 15 bucks, that's a little much. So if anyone has any questions about any of this or any specific questions, go ahead and type them into the chat. I'll see if I can answer them. But for the most part, my intention with this live stream was just to try to figure out, can I live stream? And can people hear me? And as far as my secrets go, it's really no more complicated than a whole lot of just looking very closely. And of course, I spent probably a good year doing this kind of in my in-between times when I needed to rest or I had an evening and the kids were asleep or something. And I learned a lot by just like obviously buying a lot and then being able to handle it, which is a big reason that I have the videos the way I do, because they're there so you can actually like see, specifically what I'm seeing. How often do I, so there's a question here. How often do you find something you'd like to buy? As far as that goes, usually I find something I would like to buy pretty much every time I open up eBay. How often do I find one of the auctions that I think is worth buying is probably a better question, because I only really want to buy the things that I'm potentially going to get gold on for very cheap. I would probably say I find maybe 2 auctions like that a week on average. And then do I buy both of them? Sometimes. Sometimes if they're like on a buy it now or they'll take an offer, I'll throw a low offer in there and see if they'll bite on it. Most of the time when you watch my videos and you see me having bought something when I'm opening it up, it's because I just threw an offer on something and they took it. Very rarely do I ever win an actual auction with actual gold in it. Usually because you have to, maybe people are using sniping programs. I've never been able to get those to work for me. But I tend to find that like with the actual true auctions, I don't usually win them because I can't be there in the last 5 seconds. And I find most people beat my bid, whatever it was, in the last 5 seconds. Also, I'm really trying not to spend any particular auction. So now sometimes like this right here, just because I think they're valuable to look at and try to identify, even if I'm not going to buy it. Like if it's one pin, I don't like to, because I tend to find that when I buy like a bunch of stuff, if it's the right sort of lot, if it has the right sort of feel, like it has something like this in it, which looks really, really good. and there's other things that could be good, I tend to find that I'm luckier than actually good, because the thing that I thought was gold is often not. But then another piece in there, if it's the right kind of auction, will end up being gold. This one I'm thinking is probably silver by the looks of it. Oh, and this is really useful too, because a lot of times with these pictures on eBay, what you'll see is that they'll be like, they'll be zoomed in. You'll be like, oh, that looks nice. That looks big. If that's gold, that could be a lot of, oh, that's not much gold. In this case, I don't think it's even silver. Maybe silver, but probably not. So if this were like a screw back and the back looked sort of like the front did, I'd probably expect it to be silver. But in this case, I think this is probably just silver plate. Maybe the front is like silver faced or something. But yeah, and the other thing too is probably important to note about that question that you just asked me, was that I tend to flip into eBay like when I have a couple seconds, um, and just like look through things quickly. I always sort things by um, most recent. So, with the different searches that I have set up, which are, I don't know how useful they are, but you'll go through and you'll find some searches you like, and then when you check it, you just check down to an auction you've seen, and then oh, I've seen all this stuff. And Eric, yeah, from experience, if that was silver, there would be some tarnish by now. And I agree with you, that would probably be tarnished. However, keep in mind, people will often clean that tarnish up. So that can happen a lot, where we end up with a piece that looks better than it does because somebody cleaned it up. And that's an eBay thing. This lot, I wanted to make a little mention, honorable mention here. You see this little Lenin pin that I'm kind of circling? In my experience, if you see these Russian pins, that generally means what you have is you have some kind of reseller who bought a whole load of these Russian pins. And they are very common. They look really good, but they're not gold. And I think that they get sprinkled into these lots to make them look better than they are, because these Russian pins do look really cool, but they're not gold. And in my experience, they don't indicate like an old pin collection. They indicate a new pin collection or a new reseller. So when I spot those, I tend to shy away from the lot. Now, there could be something else good in it, but if there's something else that looks good in it, and I have a question in my mind, is that a good thing? If I also see the Russian pins in there, I expect that the seller has seeded those into this, and that thing that looks good is probably at best gold fill and not actual gold. Yeah, yeah. Eric said that no one in Russia wants those, so they got dumped in the market. And they're very common on eBay, and they really do look pretty good in these pictures. So I can expect that people might be fooled into thinking there's something old and good, but they're just not. So here we're looking a little bit better as far as a lot goes. The thing about eBay, of course, is with these pictures, like, is that good? What I can tell from this picture is that that's an Elks pin. Um, and it just from experience, I would say these are all rhinestones around it. And the main reason I'd say that is because if that were diamonds, I don't think it would be in that plastic container. uh, and I've never seen one that had diamonds that big on a pin. You will find Elks pins with diamonds, but they're going to be a lot smaller and probably just one diamond on it, and it will be set in gold. So that one's just going to be costume. Not seeing anything else in this lot that we want to fixate on anymore. Here we have some chains. That's probably what attracted me to looking at this. Let's see if we can just zoom in. You can see here we have, I don't know, it's kind of an old piece, maybe Victorian, but it probably not. I think if you look here in the middle, there was probably a big pearl that was glued in, and those are all glued, so that's just costume. This is kind of interesting up here, that piece. It looks like it has initials on it. It looks plated though. just from like a quality perspective. Yeah, Eric said you're more likely to find a diamond set in an elk's tooth fob. Absolutely. Um, Serial Spinner says, I keep all my diamonds in plastic containers. Well, it's a good place to keep them. People won't think they're diamonds. And Greyface said, junk drawer lots have a lot of pins at times. They do. And what we can do too is actually, if you want, now that you've all sort of seen my how I do get my lots, which is this. You've seen it all at this point. And from here on, it's just experience and being obsessive about going through the list. We'll punch in junk drawer lots and we'll have a look at them. My experience with junk drawer lots is that the people selling junk drawer lots are putting them together to be appealing, and they are interesting and fun. But the few times I bought some junk drawer lots when I first started doing this, all the things that I thought were gold weren't. And since then, every time I've looked at anything that's a junk drawer lot, I've realized that it's set up to look enticing, and in reality, it's not. It's not good. I mean, in terms of like gold, like the people that make them are already filtering out the gold, and they might be seeding silver in there or things that they thought looked like gold in there, but generally that junk drawer label is something I just shy away from. They're fun to look at though, and they're probably fun to buy, but you're probably not going to be finding gold in them. So in this case, I don't think there's any gold in here. I just see a lot of newer pins. Nothing that's actually worth going. Oh, well, here we have a little one that says junk drawer. I didn't actually look at the title, though. Let's see. What do we have here? This looks like it might be gold fill. Definitely worth checking to see if the back is there. Nope. 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 And the reason I say nope is if you've been watching my videos for a while, I really try to show this off, this sort of rough look that's got the gold is in it, if that makes sense. Like it's rough, and then there's a layer of gold put over it, and that's really a look that you'll get used to. In this case too, I think you can see where maybe some of the plate is worn off along the edge there on the top, and that's same thing, just plate. Speckman said, just want to let you know that your channel has sparked my interest in stacking. My wife and I found about $500 in gold and silver for about $30 at a thrift store near us because of your videos. That puts a huge smile on my face. Thank you so much. I'm glad that it isn't just me. I figured it couldn't just be me. People say that I'm just lucky, but I know it's not true. I know it's out there, and that is awesome. Did you enjoy your day? Maybe the rest of your week? Have a little buzz in your step there as you went about thinking about that treasure you found? Okay, these look real quick. I grabbed or probably clicked on this particular auction while I was going through. Speckman says we've been on a rush since. Yeah, it really is a rush, and it lasts. It's just awesome. I'm so glad for you. I clicked on this one because these looked old, and they're definitely old. Hey, buddy, did you go out and get the mail?
Yeah.
Oh, can you go put that on the kitchen table, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, my 3-year-old is of course here. So these are brass. You can definitely tell just by the look. They have been cleaned up. Like this one here looks a little bit better, but I think they're all definitely brass. But old is what I'm looking for here. Yeah, you can see the verdigris on the top there. Oh yeah, and definitely on the back. These are nice and old for sure, but they're not going to be gold. That one was probably gold plated, and you can see the remains of the gold plating. Oh, that could be silver, maybe? Nope. If that were sterling, it would say. And we'll just look at that last one there. I bet you Eric could tell us what that mark means. A little S with an arrow through it. Off the top of my head, I don't recall. But these old ones are fun. All right. Yeah, I would say so. Speckman had a question here. I really need to learn to identify gold and silver by eye without looking for the markings. I'm sure it will come with time, and absolutely, it will come with time and just experience when you're looking at it. And also keep in mind that even if you're very experienced doing it, the gold fill will frequently be a thing that makes you think, "Oh, this is gold," because it is basically. Okay, this one looks interesting. So I would say, when I'm buying these auctions, this is one that I will actually dismiss this auction. And the reason I would dismiss this auction and not actually try to fight for it is because we already have 5 watchers. Um, People are after this. We already have 3 bids, and in all honesty, like even if there is gold in this, it's probably going to go up to the point where it's not worth my effort to try to buy it. So let's go ahead and look at these though and see what we've got. Looks like what cosmetology school 66. So 66 can still be gold, but it's less likely. Now the next one, 34, that is more, in my opinion, or more likely to be something that I would look at to see if it's gold. The further back you go, the more these tend to be gold. Now, there's still a lot of gold fill, but just like everything being equal, the 66 is in my experience, less likely to be gold than the 34. So we have a 34, 39, 67, 41, definitely on the edge there. However, this one is what? Something high school, probably, JHS. 71, that's definitely, you can see it's not gold right there. Ooh, this one looks the best. Although 55, we'll see. And then 51. Oh, Mayo Clinic. Yeah, Eric says the best gold pins I've ever seen were from the Mayo Clinic. That is interesting. I bet you they're collectible on top of being good gold pins, but that makes sense. So there's another question here. What's your cutoff for value when hunting for these listings? Like, what is a sweet spot for what you like to pay? The answer to that one depends on what it is. If there's something that I know is gold and I can see the mark on it and I have an idea of what the what the weight of that is, like it's a Greek pin, for example, and like I look at it and I can tell you for sure that's gold and even see a marking on it. I will usually like to pay up for, about whatever that piece is at spot, hoping that something else in the auction is also gold. Because I tend to find if there's one piece of gold in an auction, there's frequently another piece. So that's kind of where most of my pricing for like something where I really know it's good in there is. Otherwise, my price point for these auctions is like if I think there's gold in it and I think there's like at least 3 or 4 different pieces that could be gold in it, I'll usually want to pay right around the $20 mark. However, that's partly because these eBay videos, I buy a $20 auction and the eBay video unboxing video might end up paying me like $5 or $7. So I'm getting a little bit of a refund there. So my actual like how much do I want to pay for it is influenced slightly by the fact that I've also been making content out of it. And win or lose, if it's got fun things in it, people are enjoying the videos. So for you, I think you kind of have to decide what you want to pay. And then of course, the thing is always like, I don't suggest paying anything other than fun money for these because it should be something that you have fun with. I don't think that what I'm doing here is something people can really make a living at or really make a good, serious profit at. Not on eBay, certainly. If you're like really serious in doing the flea markets and garage sales, you could probably be doing pretty well at this. But realistically, what I'm doing it on eBay should definitely consider it a hobby. Definitely consider it just money that's like you're at a slot machine. Just fun money you could throw away. Hey, world famous Michael Hale. Hello to you too. All right, so back to where we were talking about this. Are we going to see the backs of any of these? I kind of like this one, but this one could be brass too. It's really hard to say. The thing I like about this one is I like. Do you see how, like, long time, and I'm not seeing. Although these are wretched as usual. What I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing like very distinct other colors coming through. I'm seeing one solid color. So it could be brass or it could theoretically be gold. Hopefully this auction will show us the backs, but you know what? It's not showing us any of the backs at all. I don't think. Maybe. We'll keep going through here. Yeah, I like that one. I like that pattern. I don't like the kind of dark color on it. Was there another picture of it? Yeah, I mean, it could be gold, could be like 10 karat. That's dirty. Let's see. Are we going to get the backs in this auction? Please give us the backs. At this point, I just want backs. Okay, so we don't have any of the backs in this particular auction. So this is sort of the next thing I will do with an auction like this is I'll go, okay, so we're not seeing any of the backs. We've got some stuff that's cool here. Let's look at the seller and see what they got. What kind of stuff do they sell? So there's a question here. Do you ever message sellers for additional pictures? I could. Honestly, there's so much competition for these kinds of auctions that if I message them and there's like any chance I could buy it, usually by the time they get back to me, somebody's already bid on it or bought it or whatever. So I very rarely, if ever, do that. I just pretty much call it good. There's another question here. I just got in from church and saw this. I'll watch from the beginning, even though live is still going. All right, FF Farms. Okay, so back to looking at the sellers. So like we have this one. We don't see the backs. We see some stuff that looks really good. So let's look at the seller and see what else they have. So we've got some tie pins. We're just going to look at that real quick. Lapel pins. All of our little chain pins. I don't know if there's anything good in there. So here, what we're seeing is we're seeing somebody that sells jewelry. And I'm not seeing anything that's like gold. They don't have a lot of stuff for sale, but I do see here we're saying 925. We're seeing something that says real stones. This is very important. We're seeing gold fill. That this person is savvy enough to know what GF or gold fill means. And if this person is savvy enough to be able to put that into their listing, and also know what 925 is, and also clearly be specialized in jewelry, then I would say that the likelihood of us finding gold, and I'm not seeing any gold here. This all looks just like, yep. So I'm thinking the likelihood of this, of getting us some gold, is just going down. Yeah, I'm not seeing any gold here. Those are at best plated. So again, my initial impulse to sort of dismiss this because the competition is just reinforced by who the seller is. If the seller was somebody that like was selling everything under the sun, like they had shoes and old magazines and video games and whatever, I would say the likelihood of this actually being gold goes up. But because the seller actually seems to know jewelry, or at least specializes in jewelry to some extent, I would expect the likelihood of any of this being actual solid gold to go down. Probably what would happen is you would get this lot, and all of these pieces would either be plate or gold fill at best. So when we're evaluating what you want to pay for something too, to go back to an earlier question, definitely always check whatever the seller is. We're kind of playing a little bit of a poker game on eBay here in a lot of cases, because there's a lot of people that want to, they want to sell you stuff, but they want to get the most money for it. And if we go up, and let's go ahead and hit junk drawer lot. So we'll hit a junk drawer lot and we'll see what we got there. So the junk drawer lots are really a good example of that. And I think they're probably, if you want to buy one for fun, go ahead. if you want to buy one because you think there's gold in there, my guess is you're not going to get gold. Uh, I think realistically, anyone who makes these really enticing junk drawer lots is probably pretty good at enticing people, but is not necessarily going to be um, but is not necessarily going to be selling you anything in it that's actually like particularly valuable. So like here we have this one is, sort of our typical junk. It's got all sorts of like stuff and fun stuff like a doorknob and whatever on earth that is. Here we have a very cheap pocket watch, probably like 1980s. Um, Here we have what is that? A little dinosaur. Um, Pardon me for just a moment. My wife asked me, "What are you doing? Are you on the phone?" I should tell her I'm live streaming. Okay. Uh, Sorry, folks. Live streaming is my this is the first time. So if you're just tuning in, I've never live streamed before. I'll try to be good at it, but I don't know if I am good at it. We'll see. So there's a question here from Nick James. Even the fact they call it a junk drawer lot is not a good sign. Absolutely, absolutely not a good sign. Now, I'm not saying there couldn't be good stuff in a junk drawer lot, and there definitely is fun stuff in a junk drawer lot. Like here, we're looking at a bunch of coins. These are world coins, and they're all probably silver. Here we have a nice little buffalo nickel. That's cool. Here we have something that's maybe the only good thing in this whole lot, potentially. We'll have a look here, like Chicago World's Fair. It's cool stuff. I tell you, if it were cheap, and I was a kid, it's a pile of treasures for sure. But it's not a pile of treasures that's really going to be worth um, whatever the final price was for. Now I can imagine getting pretty addicted to these little junk drawer lots. Here we've got something that's kind of cool. These looks like they could be like turquoise little cufflinks. I'm guessing by the look of the metal, um, looks like we have a little bit of corrosion there. They're probably not silver. I don't know what kind of stone that is, but they look good. They look good in this lot. But junk drawer lots, they're like this. They're kind of designed to make you think, hey, this is a bunch of cool stuff. Grandma's junk drawer lot, $25. Let's see. Let's see if we can find any that have pins in them, because a lot of them will have pins. So I'm just going to flip through here. This is a really good example of something that I like to avoid, actually. You see how beautifully displayed this is? Where everything is just very neatly laid out, very nicely laid out. And whoever did this, like, they took their time to make sure that everything is clear. They took their time to very, very carefully make it look good. And it looks good. And there's fun stuff in it. And like, if I were looking at a pile of pins, I might look at this and go, okay, I see 1937, I see 2 stars. That could be gold. I mean, look at that and go, hey, that could be gold. Now, because this isn't a junk drawer lot, though, my assumption is it's gold fill. My assumption is that somebody who would so carefully lay all this out in this way would be somebody who would look at the back of that, look at the markings on it, and say, yep. In fact, this person went so far as to polish up the silver plate, because this looks like it's newly polished. So, like, all of the effort that they put into this means that they're spending a lot of time touching these objects and understanding these objects. So again, we can go back and we can say, yeah, this is. I'm just going to pause for a moment, because something like this could be silver. I would say these beads that are just like laid along kind of haphazardly on the edge on both sides. Like, if this were silver, actually, like, 800 silver, 900 silver, or sterling, somebody would have put more effort into these edges. They're not going to make something out of silver and it be that that trashy. So, that's a good way you can just look at the quality of a thing and dismiss it. But here, let's go ahead and look at this seller. So this Treasure Source 8. Um, and it looks like they probably specialize in these junk drawers. So they're probably grabbing other stuff off of eBay. They're probably grabbing those big lots, all sorts of interesting things, and then they're putting them together. Private Pirate, hit that thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate that. My first live stream. I forget to tell people things like that. So yeah, this person is definitely putting these together out of things that are not necessarily valuable in and of themselves, but they look valuable. Some of these junk drawer lots just get kind of funny. Here we got some nice costume jewelry. Yeah, you might look at that and go, "Oh, that's a nice little clasp." This quality of clasp often indicates silver. In this case, though, it doesn't. It's got the wrong shine, and it's definitely just going to be a costume piece. Here again, we have a piece that looks like it could be silver. This one looks a little bit better than the other cuff, but I would dismiss it as not being silver just because of the seller. I would assume that the seller would know. Now, maybe that's silver, and in case, let's see, what do they want? Maybe that's why we have two bids on this. Maybe people are fighting over that cuff and they assume it's silver. But for me, I would, if I really wanted the cuff, I would probably spend the money to look for one that's actually like correct, and I could see the back and see that it's marked 925, because I'd probably end up spending the same amount of money. Maybe it wouldn't be as fun, but like here, I've been doing this long enough to know that these are both plate pieces. That pattern is something that you'll see. So these junk drawers are, maybe train yourself. If you look through these junk drawers and you can look at things and go, "Wow, that looks good," but I know it's not, because it's a junk drawer and I know the seller. And if you want to be able to figure out what to buy on eBay, it's really kind of training your eye to say, what could fool me and what is probably good. And with these junk drawer lots that you're looking at things that are probably not good. they're probably like, maybe this is silver. I don't know. But I would guess that it's not. And I would probably say that this is a good example of maybe a piece of alpaca or nickel silver that this seller shined up for this particular auction, because we know from a prior auction that they do polish things, because we saw that spoon that they polished up for this. So yeah, I think junk drawers are great for training, and they're probably a lot of fun if you like buying this kind of stuff. But honestly, I think we're probably looking at a situation that's like kind of like if you have fun on like QVC or something. But let's keep going through here. We'll just talk about these auctions for a bit, and we'll use them as training devices, because they're usually stuff I've learned to not buy, no matter how good they look. All right, I'm going to pause for just a moment. Okay, just wanted to send a message. So stuff like this I find interesting. You'll find this a lot. Like, this is just a bunch of pins, right? I mean, look at that. There are a lot of pins. But what I'm not seeing is anything good. I would guess that whoever this is probably ends up, this is like their cast-offs. They've pulled out all the gold and silver from a bunch of other auctions, basically doing more or less what I do. And now they're just selling the rest of it in bulk, because I don't see anything that's good. Interesting. When I adjust my web, I think I know what's going on. All right, I will attempt to not do that. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate that too, because this is the first live I've done, so any kind of feedback is much appreciated. So, and is my voice coming through okay? Can people hear me? Do I need to speak up or down? Just let me know. So, actually, back to this particular auction, I like this person though because they're not trying to fool us. They're not like throwing one thing in there that says sterling. Sometimes you'll see an auction like this, and there'll be like just like one pin, and you see the back, and it's like front and center. Perfect. It sounds good. Awesome. And it'll be front and center. It'll be just the back, and it'll say sterling, or it'll say 14K. But if you look close, you're like, oh yeah, that's a fake 14 karat pin, or yeah, that's a sterling pin, but it's literally the only one in the entire pile. So what do we have? This is the hidden shelf. So we can then, always check. If you have any question, check the seller, because then the seller can, tell you something. Here, this person looks like they sell everything that isn't nailed down, and everything the sellers that sell everything that isn't nailed down are really my favorites, because it means they're probably not specialized, and they might be good. Hey, Dubsy, welcome to my live stream. This is my first attempt at a live stream. For those that don't know, Dubsy is big. He's really helped me a lot. When I first got into this, he was one of the biggies that inspired me that I could do this. So I really enjoy his live streams a lot when I can get into them. Oftentimes I have kiddos that are needing to go to bed during his live streams. But yeah, you should definitely check out his channel. He is much more polished than my videos, and he will give you a lot more information in depth on his things. So back to what we're doing in here. This is my and literally the world, and they're just selling it. Like, man, they have records and plates and whatever. So these ones can actually be really good because you never know what's going to be in them. And this is probably the other big secret for people that wonder, like, when I do buy an auction, how do I get it? How did I find it? And the searches don't really usually get you the best auctions, and the certainly not like your save searches will get you the best auctions. But as you look through, when you see something that you like, what you do is always just check the seller, and then you can actually search in the seller here and go pins. Do they have other pins? Nope, just that. Do we have gold? Do they sell gold? No. Oh yeah, if you're a stacker and you haven't been on Dubsy's channel yet, you're in for a treat. You've got a whole backlog of stuff that's going to be very valuable to you. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting seller. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't see anything in that bag of pins that I like, but I also see a seller that usually doesn't do jewelry or pins. So maybe there would be something good in there. But man, I don't know. It just does not look like there's good stuff in there. So I don't really know what's going on with this one. Now that we've looked at the seller, so opening bid plus $11 shipping, would be at $21. If I was feeling fancy that day, I might get this lot just to see if something was in there that I wanted. But I don't know. I don't like the look of it. I like the look of the seller. I don't like the look of this. But if this seller had other pins in there, I would probably be pretty into them. And that is the thing, is a lot of the really good auctions I end up winning are things that were I got attracted to this seller because of one thing, and then I went and I looked at the seller's other items, and there was something in the seller's other items that I ended up buying. I would say pretty much every auction I've bought that was actually silverware, that was sterling silverware, got to me that way. That it was looking at something else and then looking at the seller and then seeing that the seller had some silverware that was marked very weird. What was it? One of mine, if you go back through my videos, one of my earlier videos was where I bought a lady's sterling. It was her box of sterling. But the auction was literally just silverware box. I think that was the title, and it was in some really weird category. And I found it because she had something else, and I just ended up on her list. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is a sterling set. And she had a, like, I can't remember what it was. It was really cheap. It was like 30% a spot, I think, after shipping and everything. So yeah, definitely, if you're on eBay, and usually where, at least personally, I'll find my good, uh, my really really big wins. All right, if I've got anything here. Silver Sleuth says, I accidentally discovered vintage postcards while buying tons of them in box lots for low money. Oh, yeah. And vintage postcards, that's an interesting thing. There's one of the guys that I talked to in town is a reseller. He says that the vintage postcard thing is like you just kind of scan them in, and there's software that will automatically like categorize it and list it for you. Um, yeah, I would say that's another thing that I've been seeing a lot on eBay lately. There's like AI listing tools, and those are, I don't know how to think about those, but when you look at descriptions, a lot of times they're clearly just something that AI generated. So I'm not sure what that's going to do to eBay in the long term, but it's definitely a trend I've noticed. Silver Sleuth said oak furniture was much better value than mahogany and other 19th century woods. Uh, that's true. Dub C says those backing paper slips look original and recent. Oh yeah, in this particular auction, this is nothing. This is nothing good. I don't think this is anything good at all. We're just mostly using it to talk about sellers. And then a question here, Greyface 7074. It's nice that you can Google Lens and you find a lot on eBay. You're able to look up questionable single pins. Absolutely. I often forget to use Google Lens. You'll see in my videos too, like I forget to do the magnet. I'll be looking at something and so excited about it that I forget, and then I'm like, oh, here's the magnet. Boom. And then it's magnetic and it's clearly silver plate. Google Lens is the same way. It can be easy to be looking at something and think, oh man, that's good, and psyching yourself up for it being really good. And then the next thing you know, you're like, wait a minute, I should Google Lens this. Um, so there's a lot of tools for figuring out what's going on in these auctions. Watches. So we're looking at a large junk drawer watch lot. I I think watches are, you really got to know what you're doing. I've seen some videos of people who seem to do well on watches. I don't know if I believe them. All the watches that come to me from eBay are watches that have clearly been um, looked over, and there's a lot of watches that look good. Same thing like rings. The Chinese rings these days are really really good. I don't ever really buy a lot that has a good ring on it, or that has a ring that looks good on it anymore, because they look so good, but they're virtually always fake. All right. So let's just keep looking. We're just doing some junk drawers now. If anyone has anything else, or any other questions they wanted to ask me, um, we've gone through sort of what my usual process is, and now we're just kind of into chatting. So please ask questions. This junk drawer looks good. I like it. It's got some Victorian stuff in it. Yeah, this has some old stuff in it. Maybe some nice old pearls or fake pearls, some cool looking old coins. But like other junk drawers, we don't have silver here. We're not looking at sterling. We're looking at bits and bobs that are probably plated. This is plated. You can sort of see that little black color in there. That's a good example of a more modern piece of plate. Lower quality costume jewelry. Again, junk drawers are made to look good, and then if you really scrutinize them, they just aren't. Maybe a gold fill watch. So, all right, let me make sure I haven't gotten any questions. Good morning, Jesse. Um, China is marking 925 on cheap silver bracelets now on AliExpress. Yeah, so Private Pirate makes a good point about Chinese fakery. There is a lot of Chinese fakes, and especially they've gotten, like, with the necklaces and bracelets. I tend to notice that, like, they're complicated enough that to make them cheap, you can sort of tell that they're cheap. The rings, it's just a ring. Like, they can make them look really dang good. And from a picture standpoint, they're so good, you're not really going to be able to tell in many cases if it's fake. But yeah, so here we go. Here's another junk drawer lot of jewelry. But when we look at it, when you look in close, you'll see it's all costume stuff. And these junk drawers, if they say junk drawer, I mean they're not lying. It's pretty much just junk. Some of these boxes are cool. It's often cool stuff, but is it gold? No. Is it silver? Maybe. They'll throw silver in here from time to time. But yeah, some of them can be just kind of interesting. Like this is really somebody's key collection. That's a little hand exerciser from Harris. Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure on this one. Sometimes on eBay you're like, why is somebody gonna pay you $22 plus at least free shipping for a bunch of old keys? I guess maybe. All right, so I've been talking for a while here. How long have I been talking? Does this thing tell me? Yeah, I guess I've been live for 51 minutes. Boy, you get to talk and then time just flies. I have a child outside who is getting a little wild and another one that I think is getting hungry. So what I would like to do here is if anyone has any more questions, I'll go ahead and see if I can answer them for you. If there's something you'd like me to search real quick, we can do that. But I think otherwise, I'm probably just going to wrap this one up. I think it's, if you think it's been a fairly successful live stream, I'd appreciate that feedback. Yeah, anything else? Thank you so much, Silver Sleuth. We can try to schedule these. My schedule is obviously a little crazy with the kiddos. They take priority. So if the audio works and the info works, hey, you know what, Private Pirate, it should post and you should be able to see it from the beginning. Speckman said, I found a necklace marked 14K that reacts to my magnet. Google goes both ways, saying it can be the alloy that's magnetic, and there are others that say it won't react. Should I doubt its legitness? Regarding that, Speckman, first off, is it the clasp that reacts to the magnet? Because the clasp will have a metal spring in it pretty much always. So that will react to the magnet. If it's like the chain that reacts to the magnet and reacts very strongly to the magnet, then you're probably looking at a fake. And what I would do next is I'd look very closely over the whole thing and look for any place that some plate might be worn off. Because if it's magnetic and it's a fake, it's definitely going to be plated. And I think when you go over it with a loop, you'll probably see where it's worn off. Hey, thanks, Dubsy. This live stream has actually gone pretty well. Yeah, okay, so if it's both the clasp and the chain is weak, maybe look over it real close. I mean, like really, really close, like every link, especially where there's any like wear points on the chain. And you'll probably start to find where it is plated. I have yet to find a magnetic actual gold chain. I have found magnetic silver chains, but not an actual gold chain. All right. So with that, thank you all so much for joining me, and I hope you can use this information to go out and find some treasure. Have a great day. Now, how do I stop a live stream? Stop sharing. End stream. There we go. See y'all later.